Hello. This is probably going to be a little weird because I haven't been around for quite some time now. If you have been somewhat keeping up with me, then you probably noticed that. And you're probably wondering, hey, Blame, where have you been? Okay. So there was something that was going on with my family. And because of all this stuff that was happening with my family, I was just crazy busy. And during this time of being crazy busy, I ended up catching COVID. And COVID left me in shambles. I could not move. I couldn't speak. I couldn't do much of anything, I was just out of it, right? And I was done for. And I was crazy tired and I was crazy drained and I was just suffering. And I mean, that's just that. That's what I was dealing with. And when I was sick, oh man, I forgot about all this. So some stuff happened way back when I ended up changing jobs, right? So I've been at this job that I used to work at a long time ago, and I was there for since I came back, I was there for maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks. No, I had to have been a month and a half, maybe 2 months. And I caught COVID. Maybe longer than 2 months. I was there for a little minute. It wasn't 6 months, but it wasn't 5 months either. And it definitely wasn't a month. I was there for maybe 2 to 4 months, maybe. Sometime around that time, the stuff happened with family. I ended up getting COVID. And when I had COVID, they basically fired me the day after. I had strep throat for 2 days and I kind of just ignored it because usually I like to sing. I can't sing, but I like to sing. When I'm singing, I'm giving it my all. I'm going all kinds of crazy. And by the time I finish singing, my throat just gets really sore. And there's nothing I can do about that, right? Now, sometimes what ends up happening is I'm actually sick and I have strep throat, and that's why my throat is so sore. But I can't tell the difference because, if I'm really singing, I risk stressing out my throat. Pause. And this isn't the first time that has happened. So originally I just thought, it was from all the singing and my throat was sore for 2 days. Well, come the third day, I'm at work and I'm feeling bad. I've got nausea. The throat pain is kind of enhanced, so it's a bit more intense. And it was just difficult for me to get around and do much of anything, right? I was genuinely struggling. And I worked maybe 2 to 3 hours and then I kind of just felt myself losing it. And I started getting dizzy, lightheaded. And I text my family, the ones that had COVID at the time and were on their second or third day to figure out, hey, did you have these symptoms? And they told me, yeah. So I asked my manager if I can get a mask. They gave me one. Okay, cool. I was set. I kept working. About an hour in after that or so, I am just losing it, right? I can't stand. It hurts to move. And I let them know, hey, I gotta go. I gotta go get tested to see if I have this because right now I cannot work. I'm physically unable to do my job. And so they sat on it. If they would have told me no, I would have just walked out and went home. But they sat on it and they were like, yeah, go ahead, get a test. I went to get tested. I tested negative. Now, one of the last times I had COVID, because I've had COVID 3 or 4 times. One of the last times I had COVID, I tested negative 2 to 3 times in a row, but I had it. And that sucked because you can't really be excused from work unless you have, the official excuse saying that, you've got it. But at this workplace that I was working at, they didn't really care if you had COVID. If you had COVID, they wanted you to work. And this was a food place. So it's not a necessity, right, to be up there while you're sick. And I don't know why they treated it as if it just was this light thing that anybody could get by. So I get tested negative. While I'm out, I get food for my family. I come back home and I'm thinking about just sleeping the day away, not going back into work because I would have only had like maybe 2 hours left on my shift anyway. Um, my manager ends up calling me saying she didn't care that I was sick and that I should come to work. And so, against my better judgment, I went to work anyway. And I let her know, hey, if I'm not working, it's because like I can't, like I'm out of it. I can't do anything. I'm feeling terrible. And she basically says, almost literally says, okay, if worst comes to worst, I'll just make you work anyway, which is crazy, right? That's some crazy, unhinged, dissociated mindset. But regardless, I show up and I'm working for probably 40 minutes. And throughout this entirety of the 40 minutes, I'm standing still. I'm going outside and sitting down because we had like a little bench area outside. I would go out there and sit down to try to catch my breath or try to keep myself from falling out or fainting or whatever the case may be. And this entire time this is going on, like my manager hasn't checked up on me. She's not like doing anything to make sure that I'm okay, which I mean, it's to be expected because she is like the furthest thing from human, right? Like one of my coworkers, which he's actually one of my friends as well, he was at church. Some coworkers call out for work to go to church, so they have dedicated church days where they just don't come to work. She got upset that he was getting baptized and not working that shift in the morning, that she like snapped at me angry and told me to reach out to him and tell him that God could wait and that she needed him in the kitchen now. And he told me he was going to quit after that. Like, she is the farthest thing from a manager. I don't know how she came into power, but I hope that business gets run to the ground and it's because of her. She is really, really bad. She's made a lot of people quit. Some people she's fired because of her own pride. She is a very bad person to have in the form of power. Regardless, all this stuff happens and they basically they fire me, but they don't call it me being fired. They say that I left, even though they told me, and I have it like on text, I have it on screenshots. They texted me saying, if you want your job back, you'll have to go talk to the store owner because like the person who owns the restaurant watches over it from time to time. So I'm sick with COVID, can't move, can't do anything, and you fired me because I'm sick. I've got to be able to sue you. Like, there's no way you get off scot-free for doing something like that, all right? But I digress. All of this happens, and I'm out of a job for probably 4 or 5 days. I end up going back to my other job about that fifth day or so, and I'm just like back at my original old job, which has been fine. It's been cool. But while I was waiting, trying to figure out where it is that I could work, I ended up applying for a bunch of places and ended up getting a job position at a completely different place. Like, go me, right? Yay. And, I've got this opportunity to really just like change jobs, get more money, and do something completely different and add it to my resume. Well, what ends up happening, because nothing is ever simple, that job emails me a file. Well, it wasn't a file. They just emailed me saying that like they were going to get back to me and they wanted to check up on something. All right, I got you. So they said they'd get back to me soon. I'm thinking soon is like within a day's time. They don't get back to me in a day's time. In fact, they don't get back to me until almost a week later when I had forgot about the job. I assumed the job was a scam because they took so long to reply back. The emails seemed a little shady, and like I've worked sort of in that corporation before, but not in that position, and never have I had to apply the way that they had me applying online then. But I decided to go through with it a week later, which now is like a few days ago. And I went through with it. I signed up on everything. I filed everything, and that was it. Today, right, like a day or two later, today, um, they send me an email talking about how I need to go to some clinic so that I can get drug tested. And I guess it's a clinic that like they work alongside with. I don't know. So I go out to, well, I haven't gone to the clinic. What ends up happening is I see the email, I kind of skim over it. I'm thinking, okay, like this isn't real, this is a scam, or this is too much to apply for like a job like this. You know, I'm not gonna do all this extra stuff because in all my other jobs, when it comes to getting like drug tests and whatnot, they test you at the job, right? So why on earth am I having to go to a clinic? Especially, like I said, I worked for this corporation before in a completely different position. Like 2 years ago, I didn't have to do any of this. So I was like, why am I having to go to a clinic? So I was like, whatever. Like, I'll just ignore it. That's dead. If I decide to go and do it, it'll be like later on when I'm feeling up to it. Because like today I had to get some other stuff done, and I was just like, I'm not doing much else after all this. All right, cool. So I'm in my room, kind of winding down, cooling off from having to like move around and get all this other stuff out of the way, and I get a phone call. Phone call's got no caller ID. It's just a number, and I got the number saved on my phone. And I low key want to like put the number and the clinic's name on blast, but I'm not going to in the YouTube video. I don't know the repercussions of it, but I am like seriously thinking about going on like Google, Yelp, wherever else, and like shaming at least this branch, this side of the clinic hard, like just running them in the dirt, right? Because what happened is they called me. Like I said, no caller ID. This is a random number. Naturally, I'm going to be on guard and kind of confused because I've been getting calls from coworkers and people that I don't usually talk to, like this past month. People have just been reaching out to me out of the blue. Don't know why. So I'm like trying to figure out who this is, and I was gonna ignore it, but I decided to pick it up. I pick it up, and this woman is saying that she's with insert company here. She doesn't say it's a clinic. She doesn't say it has anything to do with like medicine or anything. She just says that she's with insert company here, and she's asking me if like I'm ready for my screening. And I'm so confused, right? Because I skimmed over the email. So I assumed that had something to do with the email. But once again, I didn't know if this was legit, A. And B, I didn't know that, like I said, I skimmed over the email. I didn't know it was a clinic. I assumed it was some kind of like hospital I never heard of. I didn't even know. For all I know, it could have just been a building. You know, I have no idea. So she calls and she says, "Hey, I'm with insert company here. Are you ready to like schedule for your screening, like for your drug test or something?" But it wasn't exactly drug test, is what she said. She said something that was like super unclear. I had no idea what she was talking about. Like it confused me. I saw the email like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours ago, and still when she called me on this unmarked number, I was so confused. I was so lost. I didn't know what she was talking about, and so I was like, yes, yeah, sure. Like I was unsure because I didn't know what was going on. And I was trying to see who she was and if she was like going to go in deeper detail to clarify things. Instead, she goes, "Okay, you sound a little unsure. Do you know like who I am? Do you know what this is about?" And I was like, "No, I'm sorry." You know, like I was like, "Oh, hey, you know, I didn't know. Sorry, I wasn't sure," and I'm waiting for her to clarify. And she goes, "Okay, well, I'll just take you out of the system and you won't get the job." And she hangs up right in my face, right after saying that. And when she says that, I go, "Okay, so this is actually for so-or-so job, and this is actually for, you know, like a drug test or something." And as like she hung up, so she doesn't decide to clarify the situation until she hangs up in my face and gives me no time to reply. So she was like, "Okay." She had said something roughly along the lines of, "Okay, so I see there must have been a mistake. You don't want the job. Thanks for calling the clinic." And she hangs up directly in my face. And I'm stunned, right? Like I'm trying to like process this, and I'm like, okay, she just said this was a clinic, and she just said it was for the job. And instead of just talking to me instead and like clearing the air with me, she just hangs up in my face. So I was just gonna let it be and shrug it off and be like, hey, I didn't even really want the job anyway. Because to be honest, I don't know entirely like what the job entails. At the time, I was really willing to just take any job because I had none at all. And now that I have my old job back, I wasn't even like super into the idea of getting a new one. And to be honest, I'm still sort of not. I'm just kind of wanting to weigh my options to see if they'll like let me work out some small like on call schedule where they don't have me doing a bunch of stuff all day, but instead of being able to reach out to an employer and ask about all these opportunities and stuff, you have to be thrown through 15 different hoops just to figure out what it is that's being offered, right? So I was just going to shrug it off and just go back to chilling. And then I stopped and I was like, you know what? No, like now I'm upset, right? So I call back and she picks up and I'm like, hey, y'all were super rude on the phone and I didn't know what was going on. And she can't hear me. Something's going on with the phone to where she can't hear me at all. And everything I said, she basically just missed, which I don't think she missed. I think she just specifically chose not to respond to it. So then after I said everything, she stops and goes, hello? And I was like, hey. And she's like, oh, I couldn't hear you. I was like, can you hear me now? And she's like, yeah, I can hear you now, which leads me to believe that she heard everything I said before and just didn't want to act on it. And I repeated everything I said. Like, I'm standing on business. You're not going to talk to me crazy and then like knock out an opportunity for something that I could have had. Imagine that like you're applying for like a job or something, right? And you jump through all these hoops to end up getting a job. Let's just assume you had no job and this was like a great opportunity to make some pretty good money, keep your hands busy, and keep you just preoccupied and ready, right? And that opportunity is right there in your face. And the reason why you miss it is because some worker that you have to talk to in order to get to the end is being extremely rude, has had a bad day, and just doesn't like doing her job. Why is it that I'm having to pay the price? Because you are a terrible human being. Why is it that I'm missing out on opportunities because your life sucks? Like, how does that work, right? So I don't snap on her, but I clear the air with her and let her know I had no idea, like what this number was. It's not labeled as anything, telling like everything to her. And she goes, okay, I get it. Well, you should have gotten an email. Go back and read through the email and then call that number on the email. So that also annoyed me because if you got the power to take me out of the system without even clarifying with me, right? Shouldn't you be able to talk everything through to me right then and there and put me back into the system? Guess not, right? So I hang up in her face. I go to the email. I'm reading through everything, trying to like see what's actually going on. I see it all, and I call the number that they offer, which is like the main desk number of the clinic. And I'm waiting to, for somebody to answer. It's like a random answering machine that I get put on hold again. I speak to somebody and they're like, oh, hey. And I'm telling her, hey, like this is a new woman. I'm like, hey, the last woman I spoke to was super rude and all this extra stuff. And she was like, okay, well, that's a different number. We don't have anything to do with that. If she's rude, she's rude. Like they didn't care. I was like, okay, so, that's cool. So I'm trying to get everything set up, right? Like I'm explaining to her what's going on because half of the story of me explaining the rude tendency of this worker ties into like me actually trying to get a job, right? So I'm having to break everything down to better like explain it to her so that she understands what it is I need help with and what it is like I'm stuck in, right? And this woman was no better than the other one, right? She's just in a bad mood and she's like, okay, well, we can filter you through and I can put you in. And she puts me into the system and she sends me a text message and I get a text message, it's a clinic. Apparently you're supposed to confirm whether or not you want to, be a part of their system and be put into whatever. Okay, cool. I completely understand that. But there was an ending part where it says if you don't show, or if you decide to cancel, or if you don't like respond with confirm through the text message, then you get charged nearly $40. And I'm like, yo, hey, I'm sorry. I was like, hey, because she was asking me like, do I understand? And I was like, what's the charge, the $40 thing? And she stops and she just loses it, and she's like, the you get charged $40 if you don't show for wasting our time. I was like, okay. But before she said that, right? Before she said that, she had said something else, and I can't remember what it was because I didn't understand it. Because I'm not actively going to clinics, right? I don't go to clinics on a natural whatever, right? You're supposed to go to the doctor and like the dentist like once every 6 months, once a year, something like that. I don't do that. I hadn't seen the dentist in like 2 years. I hadn't seen the doctor. Well, I seen a doctor recently, but that's only because I had something else extra going on with me. Other than that, I hadn't been to the doctor in like 2 years, right? So I did not know. I had no idea what she was talking about. Even when I got tested for COVID, I got tested at home. I didn't go to no doctor's office. I didn't go to a clinic. So I had no idea what she was talking about. And like when I like told her the first time, she just gets upset. And I stop and I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna have to talk to you like you're a child. I see that now. I was like, hey, I haven't been to a clinic in a long time. I don't usually go to clinics. I don't know anything about a fee. You're telling me to sign off on something that I don't know about. Can you explain it? And she stops and she like takes a breath, and then she speaks to me like a civil human being. And then she gets upset again because I'm like, okay, I get it. So I have to clarify it. Like I'm trying to make sure. I'm like, okay, so you're saying like if I don't show, or if I don't like type in confirm, or if I cancel, or whatever the case may be, you're going to charge me. She goes, yes, if you're wasting the clinic's time, then we're going to charge you $40. I was like, okay, like y'all suck. I was like, there's no way you guys are up and running with the type of customer service, like over the phone contact that you have. And like as she's finishing up, she's like, okay, well that's it, have a great day. And I hung up on her, like right like in the middle of her talking, hung up in her face. It's like, there's no way you were able to get this job. Both of you are on the clock working, having a terrible day, and you're just out actively trying to ruin somebody else's day. And that was absolutely naturally, they were both black women. And the manager that like God can wait and didn't care anything at all about me being sick and wanted me to be on a shift anyway, and was probably one of the biggest reasons why I wasn't allowed to come back to work, also black. I've learned, I want to title this video something clickbaity and crazy, like this is why I will never marry a black woman, something along those lines. Because bro, I just can't believe there are, and I know it's not all black women. Let's be honest. You can't overgeneralize an entire race or an entire city, an entire country, an entire population, because not everybody is like that. That's like super ignorant to think. But in your own personal experience running into whoever, wherever, whenever, right? You're going to have a natural idea of the type of people that live in that area, the type of people that belong to that race, the type of people that belong to that nationality. You're the type of people that belong to that class, that social status. You're going to have a natural idea of who they are. If majority of my experiences with black women since birth are negative, I am not going to have a good outlook on black women. And black women standing up like in social media, like going to war against people who actively talk about not liking them, doesn't make them sound any less terrible, you know? I can understand standing up for yourself. I can understand, standing your ground and making sure that like you're not being talked down on. I am all for it. I think that is big. We don't want people like painting us as villains or monsters or whatever the case may be. But oh my goodness, I am almost 26 years old, and since birth up to this point, I've got so many terrible stories about my experience with black women that you would be like, yeah, justifiable. Justifiable crash out. Justifiable overgeneralization. And I know I'm not the only one, right? This isn't some kind of rant about me like hating black women or something. I've met plenty that are like cool, fun, nice, sweet, funny, like close friends even for a while, but the vast majority, and then I live with like four of them. Like, come on, man. After a while, you just get tired of dealing with the same nonsense every day or every week or every month. It drains you. It sucks the soul out of you, man. So, yeah, that's really what I wanted to make a video about. I wanted to just complain naturally, right? Not having a good day. Um, so I decided to go through with it, and I'll go out to this ghetto clinic and pee in a cup and come home and pay, right? But whatever. So, yeah, that was the main thing I wanted to talk about because it just happened, and I wanted to talk about it while it was fresh on my mind. Um, Other than that, I want to talk about, like me, like being gone. I have some other YouTube channels up and running. I mentioned this like 2 months ago, maybe. I'm finally able to like link them to my channel, at least one of them so far. I have one linked. It's supposed to be my React channel. I want to react a lot more to things. I wanted to do it here, but the issue with reacting is like you risk getting strikes because people will say that like you're stealing their content or whatever the case may be, and there's a weird like line with reaction channels, and I didn't really want to put like my main like YouTube account in jeopardy of it. um but I did want to have like a reaction channel where I was able to like talk about things that I felt certain ways about and talk about things um, that like I thought would be interesting to talk about, give my opinion about, kind of like what I do here, but I'm actually giving you the source material up front, and I'm able to like pause it and rewind and kind of like react to things in real time with you to kind of give my thoughts on things. And I think that that would be a really fun and cool thing to do. So that reaction channel is a work in progress. Naturally, everything is. I've got a separate channel for gaming. I want to post like recorded streams, recorded whatevers of me playing games, and kind of have it like how this channel used to be, where it would be clipped things of like funny moments or me talking and just kind of giving my take on things as well as like my overall progress in certain games. So I have a channel for that I haven't really posted anything to quite yet. I made another one for like my artwork. On this channel way back when I used to post like my artwork and my animation slash animatics. A lot of the videos that I've had on this channel I've hidden, like they're you can't see them, they can't be viewed by anybody, but they're still on there, and a lot of them are like old animations and stuff that I used to work on and post on social media. I want to get back to doing something like that, but in this case, putting it on that other channel. I also want to start doing a little bit more with genuine animations, animatics, and music and whatnot. And I've been thinking about posting like actual video of like me, um, you know, well, actually, you don't know, kind of just doing goofy, somewhat creative things with like a camera. I think that would be pretty cool to put on that channel as well. And if I do start doing stuff like that and I get comfortable in it, then I think this channel, because you know it's more so centered around just kind of like me talking about like things and talking about how I feel, talking about experiences and whatnot. I think this one might start to incorporate like me vlogging and whatnot, but I can't promise that. I wanted to have this idea where I'm posting one video a week at least, usually on Sunday, but I realized that it felt more so like I was doing quantity over quality. I don't really want to keep, anybody who's genuinely wanting to watch me waiting, but at the same time, I don't want to post out something that's kind of like low effort and that could have more work put into it. And I hear reaction channels are a little bit more low effort. So I've got a plan of what I want like each channel to be able to do, like to hit, to look like. And I'm working on making that a reality. I also had about a terabyte's worth of footage, and that's some stuff that I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with, and I was going to have it as background footage and all this extra stuff. And what ends up happening is my computer just died. Well, really, it wasn't my computer, it was one of my drives, but that drive somehow got somewhat corrupted with Windows and made it to where like access to things and me being able to touch and play things just was not working. So instead of just cleaning the drive, I decided to kill everything at the source, and I fresh reset my entire PC. So all that stuff is gone. All the excess mods and modded files and saved games and saved game files and all this extra stuff is gone, and the PC is fresh. So now I'm slowly installing like the video stuff, the art stuff, and a game or two. And instead of having like 20 games on my PC, trying to figure out what to play and not really like being able to know what to play, it's just like 1 to maybe 3 games. And I'm going to play them until I get burnt out, until I get tired, until I get bored, till I'm like craving a different type of genre or a different type of game. And then I'll move over to that game, and I'm sure in time I'll spin the block, come back to the other game. But for right now, that's just kind of what I'm doing, and you will definitely see that in the gaming channel, because so far I have like almost 10 hours of footage recorded for one of the games that I've been playing. But something that I did was like 6 of those hours, maybe 5 of those hours aren't really my voice anymore. It's kind of just me listening to stuff in the background while playing. So that'll probably end up becoming footage for like this video, like the background footage for this video. Then there's some stuff that I want to work on, like with my art, to put in other videos. So, and I'm also learning like another program for video editing because I had some issues with my other one. So it's a lot, things are changing. And if you follow me, if you watch me, then bear with me. If not, then you've got nothing to worry about, because it's not going to affect you. So yeah, if you stop seeing a whole bunch of like gameplay with games and stuff, because I know a lot of people really came to this channel based off of like my gameplay and whatnot, my tutorials and my just goofy videos. I will start linking the gaming channel down in my profile, and you'll be able to see them all there. I'm not going to take anything off of this one as far as those go. I don't think. I think instead, what I'll end up doing is just posting the new ones to the other one from now on. So this is kind of just an overall update on everything. This is my explanation as to where I've been. This is what's been going on with me. This is what I plan to do for the future, and a bunch of other stuff. So I hope this helped. I'm also recording audio differently, so hopefully I can make it to where things are a little more clear, and I can cut out a lot of the excess stuff. So I'm gonna have to go back and listen to all this. So far I've got almost 40 minutes of audio recorded, and hopefully by the time I cut it down, it'll be maybe like 30 to 26, 27, hopefully. So yeah, that's it. I hope everybody's doing well. As always, eat my balls. Peace.